Oh, man, I was on mute. Hello, no sound. Hey, El Fuego. All right, let's start over. you, you ever notice that I'm a goober? Kind of says it in the title there, you know. Uh, Nobody ever said I was professional at any of this. Uh, Definitely an amateur at all of it. So it's punch. This thing was filthy. The board was filthy. It had like maybe got in the river. I don't know. But if the case has, I was showing 3 out of the 4 440 set screws are broke. So I use Dremel. They got a thin. I got the Easy Lock, and I also got a diamond one. And you have to have a brand new one. I use the diamond on these over here normally, but you'll see that actually, if it fits in the hole there, so you can come in and you can cut with it. I've been using these diamond ones. They're much more expensive. Uh, and sometimes you can work these things out and stuff. I will normally start by putting some drops of some lubricant on there and maybe even a little bit of, this one is a fantastic specimen for just going ahead and putting some acetone where those screws are and then scrubbing it real good with a toothbrush, getting in there and breaking it free with a file, getting all the paint away from it. See how that's already flaking away and everything. To try and break that free and get some penetrating lubricant in there. You can even put some heat to it, a little bit of torch and stuff. Sometimes you can drill them. I have. I kind of need a flat spot on there. But like I said, it's a real bummer up here. You got to be real careful up by this flange. But the diamond wheel is thinner and it does a good job. Just take your time, and you're working a little. You can slit all the way through that screw if you have to. Uh, but a lot of times, what I'll try to do is just slit on the end so that I can get. And when I say slit on the end, let's do a pointer here. Just want to go down, and I really try not to get into the bottom of the threads down there in the chassis. Now, one of the beautiful things about it is that they only used little bitty short half-inch bolts. Now, some of these, sometimes people replaced them with longer. The nastiness in there. But the reason this one's a perfect candidate is because it could definitely be stripped, and I will probably eventually do a video on this one. We'll just strip it all the way down and give it a sand and get rid of this. I've got replacement labels. No, they're not the texture finish like this. They're Rockford made so many labels in the Punch and the Punch HD, so many different versions of it, because they produced them for a long time. And they produced a whole lot of them, and they had some different suppliers or ended up with some different materials. So, if you're looking for a specific label type to match yours, you're gonna have to find some OEM ones, and that's hard. The only guy I know that's really got any left is Mike Schultz up at A1 Custom Audio Restoration. So if you're bound and determined to have that, what I normally do is, and what most guys that buy the label from me, which are super cheap, by the way, because I can't make money off of them because they have Rockford Fosgate's copyrighted. It's a copyrighted thing, and so they let me make them for reproduction. But if I make monies off of them more than what I got in them, kind of thing, and the shipping and all that, they will throw lawyers at me. Big, mean, tough, ornery lawyers. So they don't mind. They'll look the other way as long as I'm not trying to make big profit off of it. So, if you've got original labels, OEM labels that you got from Rockford, you can sell them for whatever you want. I can't, because mine are reproductions. I make sure I always say they're reproductions. But what I did is I just found as many different samples as I could and then made them all kind of match up, so that if you had 3 old amps that were all beat up like this and you was going to redo them, you could get 3 new labels, and then your amps would all look perfect. And anybody that's not a absolute 100% perfect Rockford expert would never know that they had been or were not OEM. So you can take an old trash stamp like this, strip it, sand it, clean it all up, fix these holes, repair the amp, refinish these. You can do the crinkle finish and the splatter finish. There's all those finishes out there. And with a new label, and have your amps all looking perfect. And I've seen a couple of great photos have been sent to me after some guys have redone these, especially with the PIM board, and they just look fantastic with new labels and stuff. And they all match, and it's just like you was living back in 1990, the early 90s again. Yeah, the good old cease and desist letter. I've already got the stuff from Rockford that says as long as I don't stick my foot in my mouth or do something really stupid, they're not going to attack me now. I say that was when they were still Rockford. They've been bought, so I may need to ask some questions about that now. I'm gonna have to turn this overhead light back on because they are under new ownership. This one, I swore I saw it wiggle. Anyway, yeah, one that you can get some heat in, do a little grinding. Now, I was saying the beauty of it is Rockford only used 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch long screws, and obviously you can use a longer one. So if you do get into the threads just a little bit or whatever when you're cutting these out, if you can't back them out, like this one's got a nice little nub sticking out, so I will probably be able to go in and V-groove it at the tip here with enough lubricant, maybe a little heat, and work on it with by cutting that slot in there. Somewhere here I have a flat blade screwdriver. I don't know, my workbench is a mess. There we go. So a little bitty flat blade screwdriver like this, so you can get in there, and you're just going to try to rock it back and forth, because we want to get that penetrating lube in there. It's a steel screw in an aluminum heat sink, so they like to kind of bind up. But once you get a little lube in there, a lot of times you can start wiggling it, and then they'll spin out. A lot of times when I cut them about halfway, I can get in there and I can use that slot to wiggle it back and forth and break it free a little bit. And once you kind of get it broke free, you can start working that thing around. You may have to do a little work, and it is time consuming and it is a pain. But the secret is the little diamond wheel, because it is thinner than the cutoff wheel. The cutoff wheel is kind of the last resort, because it's a little bit, that's the thinnest one they make, and it is just barely fits into the groove. Now you'll notice that with the adapter on, it does not fit that way worth a darn. It will barely get in there from the top. And then if I show you the other one, they are it's really touchy. I really need a longer one, but I've always had luck just finally getting them to break free. I can get the twist locks off there. They used to make the bigger diameter ones that would fit on the small arbor, and I haven't been able to find them. I ran out of the ones I had and stuff that didn't have this lock arbor. It just was a smaller arbor that you put a screw in. I've still got those arbors, but I'm out of discs for them, and so this is what I've had to do. And so I've been doing it that way. As a matter of fact, I think the last one I did, I only had to do one, and I did it with this. So these are broke flush, so I'm really going to have to get in there. See, it's pretty easy to get down in there and get a little groove, but you're rubbing right against it. It's just back to the matter. Now, on the Punch, well, that's the last one I did. On the Punch 30, the fins are shorter. Same with the Power 100. The fins are shorter, and that's the last one I actually did, which this fits into perfectly. It's been a while since I've pulled one of my Punch 150s out that needed it and stuff. And like I said, a lot of times I try to go through and even try to drill them. I got some little bitty tiny left-hand drill bits I picked up. So hey, El Fuego, awesome. That is awesome to hear. Yes, once you you know, lots and lots. There's lots of these out there. This is probably the HD amps could be the most awesome value out there if you're into old school Rockford amps. Because if you know somebody that's got one sitting on their shelf, you know, like a Punch 150, I got one that's in pristine condition, by the way. And that was exactly what happened is that the guy hooked it up and it sounded horrible because the PIM card was bad. And so he was like, oh yeah, 20 bucks, 20 bucks. Because it needs fixed. And I was like, are you sure, dude? Because I'm the guy that makes those cards. And he was like, I don't have time to do it. And, you know, he was just going to hook it up. So I got a almost perfect, pristine condition Punch 150 that I just got to put up PIM in. Like that. I haven't got to it yet. But I will. But this one's going to go in my pickup. I took out the big Type RF that I had in there from that I've had in there forever. Because this will fit concealed, and I wanted to get all my stuff finished on my little truck. I just got a pair of tins in there. And Rockford 6x8s in the doors, all the doors. So anyway, let's see if we can. So on these, I even tried a little Scotch Brite. You can try steel wool, but man, they are so pitted. This poor Punch 150 has been through the ringer, and I'd like to show you. So these are the insulators. This is a strip of aluminum that Rockford has hardened with a hard anodizing. And that hard anodizing was of a type that does not conduct electricity. So get your meter out. You put it on beep, ohms, hopefully you can hear that. You touch it. No beep. However, remember how I said one half of it looked like it had been in the, well, you don't remember how I said that because I had the mic muted. One half of this amp was just filthy, looked like it kind of got wet. Like fell down in a mud puddle or been in the back of a truck that went mudding or something like that. And so I've cleaned and cleaned on it, and I've got to do a little more work and stuff. Like I said, this is just kind of a beater 150, and it's going to be for me. It'll be good enough. It's going to allow me to shoot a little bit of video for, you know, fixing the other stuff. But after I took these out and cleaned them up, you know, there's still some residue on there and stuff. This side had, from over there, had corrosion on it. And the biggest problem with the corrosion is that it'll break through that hardened oxide layer that's non-conductive is super thin. So if I go over here where this, you can see where the FET was sitting and see in the upper right hand corner right there. Oh, see my meter? Watch it. I got it on continuity beep right now, but if I turned it on ohms, it would probably start reading better. I had it. When I tested earlier, it was beeping a lot. I've tried to clean on it to see in there. Well, now I'm not going to be able to reproduce it. Maybe I was testing over here. Anyway, oh, yep, there we go. If you're careful. Well, take my word for it, it beeped a little. So I have to be really concerned about this. Because that means that if that fet touches maybe to that fet over there with the stuff, it's going to create a short. As a matter of fact, that short probably two of the power, yeah, it would. If these are the power, and that's the 3 power supplies, it'd short the 2 different sections of 3 together to a direct short. That'd be bad. So what I'm going to try and do is, this other side is in really good shape. I'm going to face this towards the heatsink itself, and that should give me a good one. This one right here turned out all right, so I think it'll be fine. But you really need to pay attention if you've had any oxidation on there, and I wanted to warn everybody that those insulators, while absolutely fantastic with a tiny thin, super thin layer of thermal paste between the FET and the heatsink, and these on each side, does a fantastic job. Rockford's always been great about using some kind of thing to get as much heat out of the FET as possible. And everybody always says, oh man, that Rockford runs real hot. Well, if it was all done right, like with their mesh strips or anything else like that, they're pulling all that heat out of the FETs, which is what you want, and they're dumping it in the heat sink, which can get rid of it easier. So Rockfords tend to run hot because they can, and they really run them hard. So anyway, let's talk about that amp, because I was muted. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll just leave it there, and everybody will have a good time after it. So it's had some broken FETs. None of the FETs seemed shorted. I did have to repair the power hookups. This was all toast and destroyed, and they'd half-ass soldered and tore up the pads on there. So I put some 47 ohm resistors and some 3205s in to replace a couple of the broken FETs. They broke off like that. And so I'm about ready to stick it in the heatsink. Oh, I was doing the RCAs, and that's what I was showing. The RCAs just aren't, they got rust all over them. You can see what I mean. This amp got into some serious stuff. But here's my old parts board, and it's got some good looking RCAs, so I'm going to steal them. This is a parts board because it's been torched when somebody tried to take out the PIM. I got it just like this, no heatsink, no case, no nothing. You can see I've stole the other boards off of it for repairs and stuff. But it's a Punch 75. It's actually got another one of these and stuff. But I'm going to steal those. And these are a pain to get out because you basically got to desolder them a little bit. You add some solder to it because they're old. Desolder it with, the way I do it anyway, is my desoldering gun to get it kind of sucked out of there. Then I use braid to suck it real good, and I'll take my pliers and I'll kind of get a hold of them, and once I've got it pretty much all done, I'll hold the tip of the soldering iron on the legs of the RCA jack itself there, and just start giving it the tiniest wiggle, and then remove it and let those keep wiggling it while the heat's away to keep the solder from reforming on those holes. And that will keep it kind of broke free until I can get all 3 of them wiggling, and you just kind of slowly work it out. Now, that was on this board. It took an extra long time to clean them all up, make them look good. This board, since it's junk, it's been burnt to crisp. See that? I mean, the fiberglass is showing it's all probably super conductive. Somebody took a torch to it. Yeah, yeah. Todd, Rockford's thermal management's really good. There's a few others that have copied some of their stuff, and I would probably buy those amps if I was an amp buying guy. But that's, I think, part of their higher price. They've always been a full, unique design. Uh, you know, their thermal management's really good. But be careful, you end up finding stuff like that, and that's how that works. Is that's got a hard anodized coating that is non-conductive, and so be aware if you scratch into it, you will scratch through that little coating. So you have to be real careful reassembling it. Uh, what I do when I put them all together, even though I try to be super careful, once I've got it all in the amplifier and stuff, I will actually find a spot on the amp that I can ground to, and I will check to the back of to the you know the back of each FET right here, and then I will check between them all to make sure, and I'll just continue to go down through there, just to make sure nothing scratched through, nothing conducted, because all that's going to do is make the amp go pow when you power it up. We've got several people in the chat. I can't believe somebody doesn't have a question. We got the far fan out. Yep, FR 301. Actually, it did a really good job on this one. So, good chance we can get this thing to wiggle right out. So, like I said, all I do is I get a hold of it with a pair of pliers. I'm going to heat up the leg until I can give it a little wiggle. That 301 was way too clean. I try to keep care of my stuff, man. It drives me crazy. So, like, you can see my tip is perfect. But the rest of the tip's rough and everything, but my tips are always perfect. Uh, Drives me crazy when I see people with torn up tips, get a cleaner, that are all corroded and everything else. So have to get a little bit braid. wick away. A little more solder on some of these. So that's just my pet peeve, tie-dye. I really, really like to keep my soldering iron tips good and clean, and that includes my desoldering tool. Because they just work so much better when clean. Solder flows better, everything works better. So let's see if I can show you what I mean. When you touch that soldering iron to the leg and you're giving it a little gentle wiggle, what'll start happening? Show it here. See, they start moving. And what it is, you're breaking the last of that solder free while liquid, because it's being heated. And that allows, and then when you take the heat away and you keep wiggling, it does not allow the, if you've wicked away enough of the solder, it will not allow it to harden up. And it'll drop out, just like so. As soon as that cools, I'll show you the back of it, and we will file it, and we'll do a repair that I talked about in the last live stream. Oh yes, your tools get all sticky, constantly cleaning my tweezers and stuff. And I have found that, you know, I use IPA for most everything because it's very gentle, a lot less risk. But when I'm cleaning my tools, it's full on acetone to clean them, because I do not like the stickiness of the flux either. Drives me crazy. Yeah, I don't know if they're plastic or thermal. I'm not a big fan of trying it just because you never know. I'll go in and I'll give it a little tweak, and like I said, this one, is it cooled off enough? Yeah. So this one, it looks like it's plastic in the middle. See how this one's at least nice and bright and shiny. If you look at the other ones, see how rusted that is and stuff. And so what we'll do, somewhere, in my little triangle file, I just go and I just scratch right here in the corner. You can do both of them if you want, but I'll scratch this part, the outer part, and then the inner part. That way it's clean and got somewhere to bond to. And then we'll go with some flux. I use Amtech and Kingbow. Kingbow I use, get a couple paintbrushes so I can paint it on real thin or real thick, you know, when I spread it out. And then I got the Amtech it's just a drop of flux. It's about time for another roll of solder there. Helping hand. Riddle. Welcome to the stream, man. Blammo. That's got it. A little isopropyl on a cotton bud. Clean that up. That flux out of there. So let's see if you can see that, if we can get to focus on it. Yeah, just barely got where I've sanded on it, and it bonded this to the RCA jacket. Now that will ground and it won't have issues. Most of them get issues because they've been plugged in so many times and twisted on that eventually that crimp connection just starts to get loose. And so that's why we do it. Or that's why I do it. I highly recommend you do it too. I think clean your tip. Always clean the tip. Braid. No. Put the solder out. Yeah, all right, they're all wiggling. There it dropped out. Sweet. Once that cools off, I'll fix it up and then we'll stick both of them in this Punch 150. I've still got to solder the legs in for these fets, but I got to do that. I've got to put it back in the case to line everything up, put all the spacers and everything, and then I'll go in and just give it a touch of solder. I've got some, I don't know if you can see it or not. Right at the bottom of the legs there, the solder joint is cracked. If I look from this side, it is not broke, and I've tugged on it left and right to make sure that the leg is not broke. And I've checked all those outputs, and then these are the 4 rectifiers. These are the 2 voltage regulators, and so you got 4 outputs per side. So hopefully I'm getting close to having this thing going. It kind of got me in the mood working on that other one last night and stuff after the fact. Do need to get into that 200, which I'm just going to hopefully do tomorrow night some. But so if anybody's got any questions about why I do certain things, or if you ask the question, my amp goes to protect. How do I fix it? That's not enough information, kind of thing. Always remember that when you're asking questions about anything. If you're asking for help, just give details, lots and lots of details. That's how you get experts like Todd, their Ellensburg amplifier repair and service, to give you an answer that may be viable. He may tell you, oh, that design has to be looked at. You have to open it up. But there's a few times when you'll describe a problem that'll be like, oh, yes, that is because, you're getting static in it, and on some of the older Rockford amps, you've popped the little diode that goes from the RCA outer ground uh, to the floating ground of the power. Yeah, like Todd just said, lots of detail is needed. So you can tell somebody, oh, that's going to be this problem or that problem. Um, it helps to get ballpark estimates. I hate giving somebody will ask me, well, how much will it cost to fix my amp? Whatever it costs to fix it. Um, the way I look at it is that if you was going to send it off and it's going to cost more than a used working one to fix, it's not worth it. Now, you get older stuff, and some people are sentimental about certain ones. Um, sometimes those amps aren't available anymore, stuff like that. I had a buddy of mine, he didn't care how much this US acoustic 4-channel amp cost for me to fix it for him. My buddy Kerry, because he got it from a friend of his. It was given to him that had passed away. And so he was sentimental about that amp. He wanted it working because he wanted to use it. And he wanted to keep that amp for good. He wouldn't sell it, kind of thing. So that's very understandable. You'll be willing to pay more for that. Let's see if I can do this without the helping hands. Yep. Oh, that one you did even better. I have to show you this one when it cools off here. It flowed nice in both directions right around that solder joint. So that's really, really nice. Clean the flux off. Man, you ought to seen the backside of this board. There's still flux where I've been doing soldering here on the thing, and I just put in a new PIM. But there was factory flux really bad all over it, and so I've scrubbed some of it off. I've not done the final clean to it yet. I will when I get all my last of my solder joints done and everything, and it's cleaned up pretty good. I still got some places that have got some dirt in it. And then I got to go through and double check all the capacitors. So let's see if I can get this one up there for you guys. To show you this corner. See how it's flowed on the gold part and the silver part of the thing, and it actually kind of flowed towards each way, just enough to make sure that you have good RCA ground. So that is the secret to. There's lots of amps out there that have that problem. JL Audios, anything that doesn't use a Tiffany style. Everybody likes to call it the Tiffany style. Uh, RCAs that use a press standard RCA like this is going to have that. I have to have glasses. That issue, and so it's just habit. That's why I got my triangle file here. Actually, this one's about wore out. I've got to probably get me another one. Oh, the other thing, if you go in on my pokey pen here, there we go. From the back side here, I'm trying to look and trying to show you at the same time. You can see how this is split. That's where that springs. So you can give it a little love. both sides. Sides I want to do a little better than the other. And that will tighten. You don't want to tighten the whole, you don't want to stab it down in there to where you close that whole thing up real tight, because that'll make it so tight. You're actually kind of doing this back edge to where it's at a taper. Does that make sense? That way it's easier to get in there, but it gets a little tighter as it gets down in and makes good contact. But you just want a tiny bit. I just barely poked the tip in. Get your mind out of the gutter. And give it a little bit of closure in the back, leaving the front open so that you get a good firm contact with the RCAs. Lots and lots of them need that, especially these old school amps. Who's going to be the first to admit they had their mind on the gutter? Uh-oh, there we go. Technical specialist. Oh, hello, technical specialist. I'll get to your comment here in a second. We'll read it. Todd, you're right. The whole lithium thing, and with everybody trying to get their voltage way up and stuff, Rockford amps will actually not, will actually shut themselves off if the voltage gets too high. Their voltage comparator does both high and low voltage, which is a good thing. Nope, did not get that in there. But yeah, these guys that are trying to think they're going to make a lot more power because their voltage is higher. Maybe if your amp's designed for it, and maybe if you don't fry your car or your or your amp if it's not designed for it and all that stuff. But really, if you need more power, get a bigger amp. There are so many guys that are in competition and they're like in the 2000 watt class, but they get a 10,000 watt amp. And you're sitting there going, well, how is that? Well, they're only allowed to run up to 2000 watts. The meters that they run on those things and stuff, check the amperage or the power that the amplifier is putting out. And if you put out 2001 watts, you break out and you lose. You forfeit to the other guy. So, but if you need more power, get a bigger amp. That's the simple thing. Stop trying to jazz your voltage up so high and all this other stuff. All you want is good, consistent voltage. A good 13.5 volts that's solid all the time when you're playing, you're solid. You're good. That's all you need. This battery voltage and alternator voltage changing stuff has just resulted in lots and lots of blown amplifiers. And burnt up cars and try buying a computer for your car because you went to 18 volts. The problem with those big high amperage alternators is when you're running on those special regulators and stuff, if they let go, that alternator shoots really high voltage and your ECU goes bye-bye. Along with possibly a lot of other stuff, and that's expensive. I think your amp was expensive. Some ECUs can be fixed. I may have fixed one or two before. I've had some that were not fixable. We're trying to get this to go in. And to get the center one to line up in the hole is proving to be a bit difficult. There we go. I think I got, no, I did not. Can I get that to pop in? There we go. No. Just bent. Bent out of the way. I think I need to check and make sure that that hole is clear. Okay, so technical specialist, he says back, he used to have a 85 IROC Z. Did it have the high output 305 or did it have the 350 in it? Punch 115, two kicker comp 15s in a custom sealed box. Yeah, man, dude, there's actually several IROC boxes that you could buy that still worked pretty dang good. And everybody loved having those because a Punch 150 pushing a pair of either Rockfords or kickers or anything of the old school subs just would rock and roll, man. It would flat get busy with it. This is going to be pushing two Hollywood Sound Lab, old school Hollywood Sound Lab 12s, or 10s, sorry. Pair of 10s, dual voice coils. The ones I restored. There's a video on it. So this is being so hard and finicky because this has already been trimmed. If this was brand new OEM, these would taper into points and this would all be longer and you could thread this through. But since I salvaged it out of another board, it's being a little finicky because it's not got much to play with here. That's what you got to deal with when you're using salvaged parts. I'm sure there are replacement exact part numbers. Man, I cannot get that thing to go in there for the love nor money. Why, you know, want to play right. Skinny that up a little like that. So yeah, that would have been a fun car to have back then. Be a fun car to have now. What am I saying? Go cruising on Friday and Saturday night. Rocks and tunes. Oh, that did it. That made it just perfect. That was the problem. All right. So, get the glare off of it. You can see that they had trimmed them really close, so they just barely stick through those holes for soldering. Okay, I'm not going to stream forever here tonight because it's a work night. Everybody's got to go to bed. I do actually have tomorrow off. Oh, shock. So I got some other projects I got to work on here. 11.8 is the best you can do, Driddle, for voltage when you're slamming. You know, that's right at the limit. You know, you kind of want to keep it to not bottom out below 12. 12 is really good, but you know, if that's the absolute worst it's hitting, that's going to be okay probably, as long as you're not doing crazy things with your amp, trying to get way too much power out of a small amp. Yeah, Todd's got it in his terms and conditions, 13.6 volts. If you want to run your voltage wild and crazy, that's fine. We can fix the amp for you, uh, but there'll be no warranty. You know, we'll show you it working on the bench, and then you pay money for it, and you walk out. And when you put it in your car, there is zero warranty. And I have to do that a lot with because I help out the competition guys, and they're the ones that are slamming it hard and doing crazy things with them. And I just look at them and say, sorry, man, if you're not within the manufacturer specs, you know, you already blown it once, obviously, but they don't seem to care because it's cheaper to fix them and they can keep competing until normally I won't see nothing coming up here from any of the guys having to get a hold of me because income tax time, and they're all going to go out and probably buy a new amp, you know, for the new season or maybe change classes or whatever and stuff. But about midway through the season, I get phone calls, and somebody's like, "My amp's dead. Is there any way you can get it?" And here lately, I've not been able to do some. I've actually referred Todd several times because he's got the parts that I don't have for fixing stuff. Yeah, particle board. Should have been MDF back in the day, but now plywood's the big thing. The birch plywood, lighter than MDF, but still super rigid and structurally stable. So you don't have quite so much weight, but it still has great acoustic properties. Oh man, followed every curve. 7 inches. Yeah, there's something to do with the diameter uh, uh, and stuff for loading. You have to be careful and stuff like that. That's if you fire your subwoofers into the rear of the hatch or something like that. You also have to be careful that you can make what's like port loading them and load them up and change the tuning. And like you said, it can deaden the sound, or it can send the tuning of your car with your bass off, so that 305 TPI throttle or tune port injected, something like that. B52 on some Vegas and a ported box if you had room to get down. Yeah, Mardi Gras week here, bay. Oh, Mardi Gras, sweet. So 175 horsepower. I'll tell you what, you know, me and the wife want to, if I ever get a shop, the people I work with, they're probably tired of hearing me say every day of my life, if I ever get a shop, uh, we'd like to build an older car, a hot rod and stuff, and that'd be fun and everything. And if you was doing a Chevrolet or whatever, while you're putting the car together and fixing up all the other stuff, snagging a 305 and a turbo 350 transmission, super, super stupid cheap, up to the point of if you have lots of friends that are hot rodders, there's a good chance they got a free one that runs laying around to throw in there so that it's mobile and that you can fix other things and you know, do tire fitments and get your cooling system set up and all that other stuff. There is absolutely nothing wrong with throwing one in there. You put a 4 barrel on a 305 with headers and, you know, good quality exhaust and stuff, and it's going to sound good, and you can at least go cruise while you're building your expensive hot rod engine. And so you can at least start enjoying your car. Plus, it allows you to shake down a few things, you know, make sure all your other stuff's good. So I highly recommend having, if you're a hot rodder kind of guy, have a spare one sitting around that runs for mock-ups. If you're going to build up, you know, a 350 and stuff like that, you can use it as your mock-up motor and stuff. There's nothing wrong with the 305 for at least getting you from point A to point B. Uh, Besides that, it's kind of a boat anchor, but Driddle says his was a 73 Firebird with a 400 US amps. Oh no, a US amps 100 pushing 2 W610s and a US 425, both Florida Splash. Wish you had them back. Hang on just a second. Nope, this was not the one I was thinking of. Uh, this is the 50HC. So it's just rated 25 watts by 25 watts. Actually got this one. I got to get it fixed. It's got some tore up stuff and everything, but I want to, if they do the old school SPL challenge again, I'd like to use this amp the next time. So that's a good one, the old 50HC. I've got the little peanut too, the 25. And then I've got a regular 50 of the generation before it in the other style heatsink, the earlier generation. It's either that or it's a 20, or maybe it might be a 50 HC. I don't know. It's further where I can't get to it right now. Oh yeah, Todd, the cards. Yeah, I'd like to talk to you just to tell you some of my numbers because I think I'm trying to get everything from the U.S. It's going to end up being too expensive, and I don't think people are going to want to pay for it. You'd have a better idea of what the price point probably needs to be for that. I don't know how much you paid for those ones. You know how much I charge 35 for my PIM card, so uh, and I don't make hardly anything on those. Uh, so I try to keep the price right, and so we'll talk about it. Just whenever you get time, you can message me, and I'll reply also. So, uh, but we do need to do that. But I'd like your opinion on it anyway. I value your opinion anyway. Uh, oh, the best I can do is 11.8, as a Rick from Pawn Stars. Yeah, the best I can do for voltage is 11.8. That's Pawn Stars. I like it. That's good. That's good, Drinnel. Oh, the 700 R4. So I had an old 79 Chevy Blazer 4x4, and I rebuilt the turbo 350 that was in it. It had a 350, uh, small block 350 with a quadrajet on it. And I rebuilt that quadrajet, and it was a good quadrajet. Wasn't one of the poorest ones that leaked and didn't have any of the problems. And so I spent a lot of time and fixed that thing up right. You could reach your arm in through the window and just tap the key, and that motor would start beautifully. But the tranny died, and so I rebuilt that turbo 350, and that's very doable. I tried to help a buddy rebuild his 700 R4 once, but he didn't. He was in a rush, wanted to do it all in one night. When I did my 350, I made a lot of the special tools that was needed. I took the time to do it, so it took me weeks to rebuild it because I made the tools to take it apart correctly, make sure it was assembled right and the seals went in correctly and stuff. And so mine worked fine. His worked, but it didn't work right. But he was able to complete what he needed to finish doing because he had to have uh, that truck to go to make a couple deliveries, and it was either not moving at all, but when we got done it did move, and then he needed to go get something different after that day. uh, like I said, if he hadn't been in such a rush, uh, we could have probably done it. I'd like to try one. uh, Surely with YouTube out there now, there's got to be enough, and some forums, there's got to be enough information. I went and got a Haynes manual on the Turbo 350 400s so that I knew what I was measuring and doing and stuff. Then we had a tranny shop here in town also that I had to go pick up a couple parts from because a couple of my parts did break inside the transmission, and those guys did show me a couple little tricks to firm up my shifts and stuff. It's kind of like the way it should have been from the factory. It wasn't a shift kit, but it was but should way it should have been from the factory. And whenever I put mine all together, it did have good. It wasn't a soft mushy shift. It was good crisp shifts. So that was nice. Yep, 700R4. I had one in my pickup, so they're all right. It's nice to have the fourth gear, the overdrive. Yep, cheater amp brittle. Oh, you got a Barracuda, sweet, all purple. All right, I gotta see if I can dig it out. Hang on just a second. I already started taking it apart to work on it, but it's a purple. And it is the 25 HC. So one of my amps, obviously, when I started on it, never get to work on my own and finish them. Ah, I'll be using my Orion 250 HCCA digital reference series amp for the old school SPL challenge. I actually have a handful of the old HCCAs. If I can ever get to them to do. Uh, and I'll want to do videos on them when I do them. Off we go. Uh, Driddle, it might be for sale at some point. Everything I do is kind of in my head. I would have a thought on, how I'd want to do a build, an old school build. And so you start gathering amps and you go, well, okay, now I don't have the right colors, and you start mix and matching and stuff. So, I will have actually two Rockford builds in my truck and my car. So I'm kind of done with Rockford. Uh, I've got most of the stuff put together, but not all of it. Getting closer, about half, let's say, of an Orion build. And then I kind of got a US amps there. Little partial US amps from around here. A guy named Tom Johansson started competitive audio, and he started it really out of his house originally and stuff, but pretty much put all the local car stereo shops to shame. Blew them all out of the water back in the day, back in the 90s. Uh, Super helpful, helped everybody out and stuff like that. So really turned the car audio industry in our local area on its head. And he sold US amps, and so they had a lot of US amps builds, and was just kicking butt and taking names with it when they do sound offs and SPL competitions and stuff. And really changed how that happened. Of course, he eventually retired due to health reasons and sold and everything, and now it's been bought back up by the big companies. And we really there's several car stereo shops around. Uh, One owns several of them, and then there's a small one. There's one guy that just a few I trust, and two of them are out of town, and really only one in town that I trust, and that's Carmel. So, all right. Oh, it's Cliff from Strictly Amps. There's another amp repair guy that you can get a hold of. Look him up on Facebook. Both Todd and Cliff have Facebook pages. If you need an amp repaired, especially a tar amps, both of them, last I knew, were authorized tar amps repair guys. So if it's under warranty, it may be going to one of them. And if not, I know Todd's got parts because Todd's just the master of parts, and I'm sure Cliff has got some too. So how much have you missed? We went over lots of screwy things with this very abused Punch 150 HD, by the way. Just talking about showing off a few things. We swapped out the RCAs just now, so I still have the pots to clean. I got a little board cleanup to do, and I think I'm kind of ready to trim these legs so that I can get it slid into the chassis. Oh, I remember there was another thing. Foam block. So when the HDs first came out, because they had the FETs up like this, they in vibration, if like you mounted this to the box or whatever, they were breaking legs, kind of like this one's got cracks in the solder joints and stuff. Rockford eventually put, and it goes about right there ish. See if I can tell exactly. I was looking for the residue, but I've kind of cleaned it all up. They stuck it here in the middle-ish, about right there, actually, is where they had it. In the board, that is a the ruler out here. That is, get my glasses out. At the widest point, that is a little under a centimeter. So it's about 9 millimeters or 5/8 inch thick foam block. And they put that in there to keep the middle of the board from flexing it, keep it from breaking it. If you have an old HD, if you take the board out and there is no chunk of foam on the back, that's what you're going to need. Put it in the middle of the board there. When you go to slide this back in and it's got that chunk of foam on it, you kind of have to press a little bit. It's just barely thick enough to put a a fraction of upward pressure. You know, it is foam, so it squeezes, but it's a friction fit after that to keep the center of that board from resonating. Really important on the Punch 150 and the 75 and the 45 HD line of amps. Because they've changed these straight up and down, and that little bit of flexing would crack all those legs. So super important. That was the other thing that was on my list to talk about. Cliff, do you need some high quality, slightly rusty, I think they've been in the pond, RCAs? That's what was on this Punch 150. We stole some off of a parts board. This thing, there was like dirt kind of diagonal through here. Uh, you can still see a little bit in here that I got to clean up on a little bit there and stuff. But I think it's all going to work. If I don't show it working in the live stream tomorrow night, I'll at least video record it a little bit. But so now we should have good inputs there. Getting ready to do up the fets. I think I'm golden. Anybody got any more questions? And I'm gonna let you guys go for the night, you know, so you can get back to doing important things, like spending time with your family, sleep. That's what I try to do. So let me get through the chat here. I still have my hybrid in between heatsink style Ryan HCCA 225. It has the Gen 2 heatsink, not the Moon and Stars, but it still has the first gen board and requires the bridging module. Yeah, now technical specialists, there's actually a way you can do that bridging module by a hack on the first gen board and not have to have the bridging module external. If I can find my pictures one of these times, whenever I do those HCCAs, I'll bring it up. Earshot for him is Driddle is now over 100 miles. Holy poop. Might as well as mail order it, I guess. Try GP Car Audio, Driddle. G as in girl, P as in purple, gpcaraudio.com. Has anybody done any of the Power US? Not around here. I'm about to get maybe my first JP, JP23. A guy has contacted me about. I told him I'm still trying to get caught up. But, you know, they're not, we're in the middle of the country here, you know, not on the coasts or anything. So I don't know how many JPs are going to be running around here. We don't have a dealer that's a down for sound kind of thing. So I don't know if Power US is going to be, or Power Us, or whatever you want to call it. I think Sam Bearvids has done some repairs on those. Oh, Cliff, you're at work? That stinks, man. I'm sorry. Oh, cool deal, technical specialist. I'm glad you got the bridging module and the cable. The actual bridging module is more expensive than some amps, depending on who's selling it. Holy canooter valves. But I am going to let you guys go. I wanted, one last thing. Kind of laid everything out here that I kind of wanted to talk about. The heatsink clamps, the foam, it's a silicone rubber. That one's not the good one to show you. This one, you'll see there, it's busted through and stuff. You can buy that foam rubber at McMaster Car in a big old roll that comes, and then just cut it out for it. It's actually handy to use for a whole bunch of stuff, but it's from McMaster Car, siliconized rubber. That's what you need. I think the original is like this may be a skosh thicker than the original, or this may just be all crushed. Yeah, this looks a little bit thicker, but that may be just because it's flared out on the end and been sitting around. But that's what you need for the punch amps that use the siliconized rubber. Don't forget to watch out for corrosion and be careful there on those. A little diamond wheel for cutting some slots in to get the broken screws out. I know I'm ready to finish this up, kind of, but I'm going to go take a dinner break. So I really appreciate everybody coming out to watch the live stream. I do have lots of videos actually already recorded. I just have not had any time for editing, so it's probably going to be some live streams here lately. throw down the comments of this one, some of the stuff you're really desperate to see. I'll see if I have the amp. I got Phoenix Golds, I got Orions, I got Rockfords, I got US amps. I try to, I've got everything. I've got some linear power, one or a couple of those. So we can at least look some things over. I can tell you what I do and I don't know. I want to know barely fill a thimble, but we can talk about it, and I may not be the expert on it. I just always just try to do my best and do a quality job. Be a little OCD about it. This one I'm not quite so OCD on. I'm going to clean it up and stuff, but it's just going in my truck, my personal use. I've got a really nice one that's in much better shape than this, and it shouldn't need any paint or nothing else. And when I go through and change out the card in it, I'll really make sure it's all slick, because it would be a great one to show off and display in an old school car. Running a pair of old school subs, cruising on a Friday or Saturday night, going to the Dairy Queen or the Andes or whatever you go to. So, guys, thanks so much for coming. Have to commission some automation systems in the morning on a new USAC vessel PLC stuff. All right, Cliff. Well, good luck with that. I just did a bunch of projects with a whole bunch of these new safety logics, Allen Bradley PLCs. I'm not a fan, but okay. All right, guys. Thanks a bunch. Hope you learned a little something. If you got questions, throw them in the comments. If there's an old school amp. I don't touch on a lot of the new stuff a lot, but if there's an old school amp line that you'd like to see some stuff of, if I get enough votes for a certain one or something, I'll see what I can throw together. Nothing else, we'll troubleshoot it here, even if I don't have all the parts to fix it, just so you can see my thought process, and maybe it'll help you troubleshoot and step through your learning of repair and stuff too. So have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you next time.